binds the people for decades.
Civilization, administration and trade are what made Sokoto to stand tall among its peers in Nigeria. People of Sokoto are known to be accommodative to all, irrespective of tribe, religion and political affiliation. Accommodative nature of Sokoto state gave room for an Igbo man to contest and win councillorship position in the state. Professor Bello Bada speaks on the attributes that binds the people in Sokoto.
Civilization in the sense that they had contact, very early contact, even before colonialism and even during colonialism. Different contacts with different tribes in Nigeria and even outside of Nigeria. In Sokoto, you get an area that is called Nufawa in Sokoto, and you get an area that is called Zabarma, and so on and so forth. And even Yarbawa, different quarters that can tell you that previously, some 100 or more than 200 years ago, these people came to Sokoto, and now they are indigenous of Sokoto. So that kind of association, fairness and justice that they knew very early, because they were taught according to their own religion that you just have to be fair to all.
Sokoto, being the seat of the caliphate, has its political history linked with the founding fathers of the caliphate, with Sir Ahmad Bello, the premier of northern region, being an heir to the throne.
Even if you look at their traditional background, for example, the Sultan of Sokoto, that is believed to be the leader, I can say, not only of the Muslim Ummah in Nigeria, I think the traditional institutions entirely. And you find him really very, very humble. And if you look at the background of the various people that ruled Nigeria from Sokoto, you could see nobody could accuse them of amassing wealth.
Abdul Fattah Olayiwola Kuka and Toby Gbagbara are leaders of Yoruba and Igbo communities in Sokoto.
Trade, yes, among various tribes, and this is a unifying factor. Religion, especially my own people, the majority are Muslims, and the Christians mix up with the few Christians that are indigenous of Sokoto and other Christians. We have their various churches, various places of worship, and for once, we have never heard of any unusual thing.
When you don't cooperate together, when you don't mix together, there might be tendency for problems. Yes. So we cooperate together, we trade together, we mix up together. So that is the basis of the peaceful coexistence.
Political and public analysts say accommodative nature and religious teachings of the people of Sokoto are what gave room for many resident communities to acquire landed properties, own businesses, and establish marital relationships with Sokoto people, and are living in harmony in the state.
It is very interesting, Shehu. We hope that other states of the Federation will emulate this uniqueness for peaceful coexistence in the country. Many thanks. And we take you to Kaduna State, which has faced security challenges in recent times. With the renewed commitment by the state government and partners, life is gradually returning to normal. Correspondent Suleiman Abdullahi Rigachikun reports that there is effective synergy among security agencies and necessary support from other critical stakeholders.
24th August 2021, gunmen sneaked into the academy, leading to the loss of lives and abduction.
Bandits' attack on Nigerian Defense Academy and has caused the level of threats to lives and property by criminal elements. Attacks on softer targets like educational institutions, communities, individuals or motorists or roads have also left their victims and indeed innocent Nigerians devastated. From Kankara in Katsina State to Kagara in Niger, Federal College of Forestry and Agricultural Mechanization Afaka, Birnungwari Axis, Greenfield University, and most recently, Baptist Bethel Secondary School, Kaduna. The story is the same. Shock and tears following bandits' attacks and abduction of scores of teachers and students, some still in captivity.
Nigerians expect more because the rate of attacks, especially outside the cities, is really unfortunate. And if you look at it properly, you will find that some of us are not even helping the matter because like the issue of Zamfara and the other places you mentioned, you find that some civilians within the community become informants, or they even join the bandits.
Fighting security, everybody's assignment, everybody's responsibility.
Security agencies are in synergy and have rejected their operations towards winning the fight, a fight taken to the den of the criminal elements.
Our dear country is faced with numerous security challenges, ranging from insecurity, banditry, kidnapping, militancy, and violent agitation, among others. The Nigerian Army is alive to its constitutional responsibilities in combating the mentioned threats to internal peace and security. Of course, in collaboration with other sister services and other security agencies.
We are taking determined and innovative steps to deal with the threats in our environment. The federal government is making maximal effort to ensure the stability of the entire country, as it is obvious from various layers of kinetic and non-kinetic measures being put in place.
As Nigeria wins the war against insecurity and marches on to greatness at 61, hopes are high that the country will surmount her myriad of challenges that threaten her peace, stability, and progress.
We are not done with security issues in Kaduna State, as Suleiman Abdullahi Rigachikun joins us via Zoom for an update. Hello, Suleiman. You're welcome to the correspondence.
Thank you very much, and glad to meet you.
Same here, Suleiman. Tell us, Kaduna State has been in the news recently for bad reasons. What is the situation of things presently?
Well, actually, yes, it is true. Kaduna has been in the news for bad reasons for quite some time now. Just like other neighboring states like Zamfara, Katsina, and Sokoto, Kebbi. But the situation in Kaduna State right now is that of synergy, is that of coordinated approach with, collaboration with other neighboring states of Katsina, Zamfara, and Sokoto to contain banditry activities in the forests. Kaduna is neighboring Zamfara, Katsina, and that there is a very big forest around, and definitely the state government, in collaboration with neighboring state governors, are really, carrying out, simultaneous attack, taking the war to the bandits in their dens along this forest. So the situation now is that of intense onslaught against the bandits. The security forces, joint security operatives, taking the war to the bandits. The army, the air force, and even the navy, and the Nigerian police and other security agencies are not leaving anything to chance. That's the situation now, and relatively there is remarkable success in the ongoing onslaught against bandits in their hideout, because just recently we have not been hearing cases of attacks, cases of kidnappings. They have reduced drastically, and currently, just yesterday, the Kaduna State government announced the disconnection of telecom network services in some selected local governments that are challenged by acts of banditry. These local governments are the local government where I come from, Chikun, Kajuru, Bernongwari, and Kachia local governments. They banned the sale of petrol in jerrycans and gallons and all other containers too. And also, there is, Kaduna State government also has announced, total banning of motorcycle operation, both commercial and those for personal use. These are all containment measures taken by Kaduna State government to ensure that the bandits, are really tackled, decimated, so that people can go about their local businesses. So relatively, in places where networks are disconnected, people are showing considerable level of support. People are not complaining. The measures taken by the state government in collaboration with federal government and security forces is really yielding results, and people, because of what they are seeing, the results they are seeing, they are really cooperating and supporting the containment measures being taken by the state government. And also, commercial tricycle operators, their operation have been also minimized with these containment measures. They are to operate from 7 o'clock, from 6 o'clock in the morning to 7 o'clock in the evening, and that they are being warned seriously not to use cover. This, cover they use on the tricycle. So these are some of the containment measures being taken by Kaduna State government. So relatively, Kaduna is coming back to normal now. Everywhere is safe, except this disconnection.
Okay. Indeed, heartwarming, the beautiful security measures put in place. Tell us, how has the security challenges, affected the ways of life of the people, and what is the government doing to build mutual trust among the citizens?
Well, actually, wherever there is banditry attacks and also acts of kidnapping, fear is usually instilled in the minds of the people, and also some level of distrust. Nobody trusts the other, unlike before, when strangers accepted wholeheartedly without any suspicion. But because of these insecurity problems, people have become apprehensive, not really trusting each other, because you don't know who is involved in this kidnapping and these banditry activities. So, but Kaduna State government really has taken measures to ensure that the effects of these banditry attacks, did not really mar some socio-economic activities in the state. It will interest you to note that, before these containment measures obviously that were taken by Kaduna State government, there was also a ban on weekly markets where the security agencies and the state government really believe that some of the informants, because they are the major problems in the banditry attacks and kidnapping activities, the state government banned these weekly markets so that to contain, bandits, getting information from the informant and also coming into the markets to buy foodstuff, and then go back to the forest to continue with their nefarious activities. So definitely people, despite the ban of these weekly markets and despite, this, measures taken, definitely people are going about their businesses, and, the fact is that government has taken measures to ensure that, the effects of these measures is not really that negative. Has not negatively affected the lives of the people that much. And of course, schools were suspended before, but now people have gone back to school from nursery, primary, and even secondary. They are all, back to school now. And in schools also, some measures have been taken to ensure that the security of students, the pupils, is guaranteed.
Okay.
So that's the situation.
Okay. Aside the fact that life is gradually coming normal and everything is taking shape, it is also heartwarming to know, just as you have said, that schools have resumed. Can you tell us what is the level of attendance of students and pupils?
Yes, actually the attendance is relatively impressive, because parents have trust in the measures taken by the state government of securing the schools, ensuring that the schools are safe for students to go back and learn.
Now, Suleiman, what measures are in place to effectively implement the Safe School initiative to protect children in schools?
Well, the measures is that of effective collaboration between the State Ministry of Education, the security agencies, and also the school-based management committees and parent-teachers associations. They have all collaborated in synergy with the youth organizations in various towns and villages to ensure that schools are safe. People have really, taken the job of supporting the security agencies to ensure that Information regarding security and safety of students are communicated in what time to the security agencies, and people are keeping vigil on the movement around the school areas. So nothing is left to chance. Everything is under control in all schools across the state, especially now that just last week, pupils of primary schools and nursery schools have really resumed to these schools. So definitely everything is moving fine. Academic activities are going unhindered. That is the situation for now. Early morning, you see parents picking their children to school. There is no any reported case of any attack on students or on any school because of the containment measures taken by both government and communities themselves and security agencies.
Okay.
Yes.
This is really heartwarming. Thanks a lot, Suleiman. We hope that lasting peace will return to Kaduna very soon to enable people live their normal lives and, contribute meaningfully to the development of the state. We hope to see you again as the state makes progress.
Thank you very much, and we hope that God bring back lasting peace to our communities soon.
Amen.
Thank you.
Amen. Thank you, Suleiman.
Yes.
Still on the correspondence, efforts to contain challenges of insecurity in Benue State. Join us again.
My name is Osage Ehanere. I am Minister of Health. We have just taken the vaccine. It is the AstraZeneca vaccine. This vaccine is safe, properly researched. It is in use in many countries. And we urge all Nigerians to submit themselves to taking this vaccine. Persons who are 18 years old above. Otherwise, it is safe. You take your second dose after a period of about 10 to 12 weeks, and then you have immunity. Nigeria is aiming to vaccinate 70% of our population, and therefore be one of that 70% to give us herd immunity. Herd immunity means that Nigerians will not easily become infected even if they get in contact with the coronavirus.
Welcome back to the correspondence. Let's take you to Benue State. The challenges of insecurity in some parts of the country have no doubt affected human existence and socio-economic activities, thereby affecting the progress of the country. Correspondent Sandra Doweze Akeme shares the Benue experience and government's efforts towards containing insecurity.
For over a decade, Nigeria has been fraught with pockets of insecurity, ranging from the activities of Boko Haram insurgencies, banditry, kidnapping, thuggery, child abduction and trafficking, among others. These challenges have remained threats to human lives and property, thereby hindering efforts of governments to meet up with the basic developmental programs that have the potential to impact positively on the socio-economic and general well-being of the citizenry.
Some of us have been begging for Nigeria to allow Nigerians to talk to themselves, create the enabling environment, bring the leaderships of these countries, of these communities, let Nigerians talk to themselves.
Without peace, there will not be a process for development. You find out that people could not go to farm because there's no peace, because everybody is afraid of insecurity, everybody is afraid of his life.
This is crippling the states, economically crippling the states in terms of agriculture.
Benue State, with its appellation as the food basket of the nation, has more often than not been in the eye of the storm as the state has continued to grapple with different forms of insecurity challenges. Prominent among these are the farmer herders crisis, communal clashes, kidnapping, banditry, and other sundry crimes. These ugly developments, according to some stakeholders and security experts, can be contained with deliberate strategies using the carrot and stick approach.
Before now, had our dispute resolution mechanisms that had a way of solving these problems. Why have we gone away from that? The open grazing prohibition and ranching establishment law It's a welcome idea.
All of us are joined together, standing together with the governor in order to bring peace within the warring communities. We've condemned the activities that have happened in the past.
We have agro rangers in various locations. And also, we have went further to collaborate with the state government to ensure that there's constant patrol, both day and night. What's on my mind is to tell you that in spite of what people who feel things are not going their own way, and sometimes I'm one of them, in spite of it all, Nigeria is a great country. We should harness it. You, the youth, should build it.
Living together as one indivisible entity is the desire of every peace-loving Nigerian. With love, patience, and tolerance, Nigeria will get there. Thanks so much, Sandra. And that's the correspondence this week. Thanks a lot for watching. Join us again next week, same time, on another edition. A quick reminder that COVID-19 is still around us. Continue to abide by government regulations and safety protocols. And more importantly, get vaccinated, take responsibility, and stay safe. And don't forget to be a star with the NTA. Be part of the campaign against rape and rapists. See you again next week. Bye for now.
Nigerian youths are about the greatest assets the country has at the moment. It is therefore not surprising that the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari is strategically responding to the yearnings of the youth through multiple projects and programs. Youth Entrepreneurship Support Years by Bank of Industry, the Youth Investment Fund by the CBN, and several other conditional cash transfer programs. Recruitment of 774,000 social workers, majority of whom are youths, and so many other projects that are beneficial to youths directly or indirectly. If the administration can do all this, definitely with a degree of patience and time, it can achieve more. Nigerian youths must come together to say no to terrorism, no to vandalism, and no to all disruptive tendencies. Hashtag Youth for Greater Nigeria. Pacifying the youths, unifying the nation.
Fellow compatriots, if no single tribe or religion has defeated poverty, then no single tribe or religion can develop Nigeria. The success story of every state and capital is the contribution of every tribe and religion. Our Nigeria no be wazobia, no majorities or minorities. Every tribe and every religion still dey hustle for naira when no get tribe or religion. So, my country people, let's join this movement that says Naira no get tribe and use the Naira to develop our Naira land. Citizens first. Citizens before state of origin. Citizens before your religion. Citizens before your ethnic belonging. For participation, call 0902 739 5555.
From dusk to dawn, 24 hours a day, NTA International is with you in your living room, office, everywhere and anywhere. We provide the company you desire in terms of balanced and up-to-date news, programs and the best of entertainment. Tune in to DSTV channel 251, GoTV channel 91, Freeview UK channel 264, or you can download www.visiontv.co.uk. App for iOS or Android. You can also see us on Facebook and YouTube for quality content on the go. NTA International, Africa's window to the world.
Hey Lara, join us. I'm sorry Aisha, the coronavirus is still in town.
You seriously will not play with us again? Please don't be ridiculous, Lara. Life is back to normal.
But people are still getting sick and even dying from COVID-19.
Lara is right.
So, what should we do? We must wash our hands regularly with soap under running water for at least 20 seconds. To help us remember, let's sing Happy Birthday song twice to an imaginary friend. Whenever we're outdoors, we must keep at least 6 feet distance from the next person. The farther, the better. We must wear a face mask whenever we're outside. And if you must cough or sneeze, flex your elbow or use a tissue paper and dispose of it properly. And please, guys, stay at home if you don't need to go out.
But it's boring staying indoors all day. This is not fair.
Kanayo, how will you feel picking up the virus while playing outdoors and infecting mom, dad, and siblings?
You're right, Lara. It's not worth it.
Hey guys, let's form a squad called Operation Run Out Coronavirus. We will practice all the preventive measures put in place by officials and encourage everyone around us to do the same. Roger that!
NTA, you can't beat the reach.
Information is power. Everyone wants power. So feel powerful with the NTA News mobile app, the one-stop information center. Real news at your fingertip. Be the first to report by uploading first-hand information on the U-Report link, and be the first to know by simply clicking on any of the links on the sidebar for headlines, domestic and foreign news, economy, security, politics, sports, and more. Stream live on your smartphone and tablets and stay connected. It's pretty easy. Simply download NTA News app from your Google Play Store and you're good to go. NTA News mobile app, your access to real-time information.
The total oil revenue will be 315 trillion naira, while total non-oil revenue will be 2.13 trillion.
Federal Executive Council approves 2022 appropriation bill of 16.39 trillion naira.
National Assembly set to receive President Buhari today as he presents 2022 appropriation bill.
The government will certainly do the needful in terms of ensuring that our elections are held in Anambra.
Federal government reiterates commitment towards peaceful conduct of Anambra governorship election.
On Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall discuss the new deal for teachers and the teaching profession in Nigeria.
Well, Kingsley, teaching essentially is a social service, and teachers, of course, deserve to be celebrated every day. The World Teachers' Day, every 5th October, is therefore a way of honoring the sacrifices being made by teachers in the course of their profession with which they impact and shape lives.
Absolutely, Honorable. Now, for teachers and the teaching profession in Nigeria, this would appear to be the best of times, thanks to the new welfare packages introduced and approved by the federal government for teachers in primary and secondary schools, with a view to bolstering the education sector and therefore rescuing it from further decline.
Well, that's right. After many years of prolonged debacle, nurtured by the poor condition of service, the demand by the Nigerian Union of Teachers, NUT, for an upward review of their salary and retirement age was finally granted last year, following the approval of a special salary scale and retirement age for teachers from 35 to 40 years, or 60 to 65 years. By this gesture, the Buhari administration has put the matter to rest finally.
Well, there's no doubt that the teaching profession over the decades had remained the most challenging profession. And of course, given the fact that teachers' welfare and teacher education development in general had been neglected by successive governments.
Well, yes, Kingsley, the teaching profession had lost its appeal due to seemingly poor teachers' welfare and declining attention in terms of salary, respect, and working conditions. According to World Development Report 2018, the teaching profession could be redeemed only through improved remuneration and, more broadly, the working environment and job stability as basic ingredients that will guide any attempt to upgrade the profession and mechanisms of attracting and motivating teachers.
We're talking about neglect a while ago, if you recall.
Yeah.
There was a state, for instance, where teachers were owed upwards of 12 months of their salaries.
Or even more.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, the previous lack of deliberate policy to enhance teachers' welfare and conditions of service in the nation's school system had also resulted in the death of quantity and quality of teachers in schools. Now, meanwhile, as part of efforts to reposition the teaching profession, the Teachers Registration Council of Nigeria, TCRN, at the level of professionalism, made it mandatory for all teachers in Nigerian school system to register with the council.
Now, as part of activities to mark this year's World Teachers' Day, the federal government approved 75,000 naira as stipend for students undergoing degree programs in education in public universities in Nigeria and 50,000 naira for NCA students.
That's right, Nadabu. Now, according to the Minister of Education, Malam Adamu, this is a deliberate effort by the government to attract the best brains into the teaching profession, as promised by President Buhari last year. And we are also told that the Ministry of Education will collaborate with state governments to ensure automatic employment for the students upon graduation.
Well, quite impressive, Kingsley. Today on Good Morning Nigeria, we shall be looking at all the issues surrounding the legislation and implementation of Teachers' Welfare Package. What about state governments? Will they toe the same line? How will this translate to better working environment for effective teaching delivery in our schools? What is the new national teaching policy signed and approved by President Muhammadu Buhari all about?
And about those questions and others, of course, will form the crux of our conversation with our guest this morning on Good Morning Nigeria, as we take a look at the new deal for teachers and teaching in the country. We're reaching you live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. I'm Kingsley Osadolo, and I welcome you to the program.
And I'm Yusuf Nadabu Usman. I also join my colleague Kingsley to welcome you to the program. As usual, we shall bring you our complimentary segments in the course of the program. For now, here is our colleague Musbao Dan Wahab with the morning news. Good morning, Musbao.
It's a very good morning, Yusuf and Kingsley. Welcome to the news. The Federal Executive Council has approved the 2022 appropriation bill of 16.39 trillion naira for presentation to the National Assembly. Also approved are the changes made on the 2022-2024 medium-term expenditure framework to formally accommodate provisions of the Petroleum Industry Act. The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, announced this while briefing journalists after the Council's meeting.
The assumptions and targets that we submitted to Council and Council noted and approved is that we'll be pricing oil at $57 per barrel, that there will be an oil production of 1.88 million barrels per day. The exchange rate will be 410 naira, 15 kobo to $1, and that the total oil revenue will be 315 trillion naira, while total non-oil revenue will be 2.13 trillion.
Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari is expected to present the 2022 appropriation bill before a joint session of the National Assembly later today. The President had earlier written to the National Assembly seeking the leave of the legislators to do the presentation. The House of Representatives has commended President Buhari for setting up a high-powered committee to pursue the actualization of extending Nigeria's continental shelf in line with United Nations Convention on Law of the Sea. In adopting a motion from Representative Lego Idagbo, House members resolved to invite the committee headed by the Attorney General of the Federation for a briefing on the status of a continental shelf project. The federal government had in 2009 submitted a proposal to the United Nations Commission on limits of a continental shelf to extend Nigeria's marine area beyond 200 nautical miles to enable exploitation and exploration rights to generate more revenue.
Respect Marine and Kaduna refineries to Saipem and Technimot, respectively, without the submission of their local content plan for the contract execution.
The federal government says it is irrevocably committed towards ensuring that the forthcoming Anambra governorship election is conducted peacefully and nothing will be left to chance in achieving the objective. Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami stated this at a media briefing shortly after the meeting of the Federal Executive Council.
As a government, we have a responsibility to ensure the sustenance of our democratic order. As a government, we have a responsibility to provide security to lives and properties. So within the context of these constitutional obligations of the government, there is no possibility that is outruled. The government will certainly do the needful in terms of ensuring that our elections are held.
In politics, just 3 weeks to the People's Democratic Party (PDP) National Convention scheduled for October 30, the internal crisis rocking the party's leadership may have taken another dimension, with the youth pleading with the governors on the PDP platform to hands off the administrative running of the party.
Officials who should be allowed to run our party administration just as it is done globally.
Motorists and residents are applauding the federal government for the prompt intervention in fixing the collapsed portion of the Onitsha-Owerri road. The damage on the road was done after a heavy downpour washed off large parts of the expressway.
I myself, I was very happy because this is unlike our country, because this one, they did it very fast, although we suffered a little bit that time, but they responded very fast.
Thank you for the federal government project they are doing for us. So I'm very, very happy.
That's just a bit of the news this morning. More will come your way in the course of the day. Good morning, Nigeria. We'll continue with Kingsley and Yusuf after this break. Have a good day.
The center is purposely established in order to provide these services that are examinations, medical examinations and investigations that were not provided for in Kano as well as the entire Northwest region. It's equipped with modern technological equipment in terms of radiological services. We have MRI 1.5 Tesla. We have digital X-ray as well as 4D ultrasound equipment. The importance of the center cannot be overemphasized. Just within 1 year, the center attended to thousands and numerous patients as well as medical examinations. NKDC is established in order also to provide these healthcare facilities as a discounted price.
This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
The federal government, through NPHCDA, commenced Phase 2 vaccination of all persons 18 years and above with safe and effective COVID-19 vaccines approved by WHO and certified by NAFDAC. Special arrangement has been made for staff, their dependents and retirees of ministries, departments and agencies of government, private corporate organizations and non-governmental organizations. To benefit from this special arrangement, visit www.nphcda.gov.ng/corporate vaccination/ to obtain, fill and submit the Google form. NPHCDA will contact you within 48 hours. Protect yourself, your family and your workplace against COVID-19. COVID-19 vaccines are free, safe and effective. For further inquiries, call 0700-220-1122 or send a mail to covid19.vaccination@nphcda.gov.ng. This message is from the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency.
Dear customer, link your Airtel number to your national identification number today. Here are easy ways you can do it. Dial *121*1# on your Airtel line and follow the prompts on the screen. Type in your 11-digit government-approved NIN number. You will receive a confirmation message to confirm your entry. You can also visit www.airtel.com.ng/NIN to link your phone number to your NIN. If you do not know your NIN, simply dial *346# to get it. No stress, no wahala.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Near post and scores.
The Super Eagles of Nigeria will look to continue their excellent start to the World Cup qualifiers when they take on Leythove of Central African Republic. Will Leythove pull off a shock on the home soil of the Super Eagles? It's Nigeria versus Central African Republic at the Tesla Balogun Stadium in Lagos, Nigeria on the 7th of October, showing on the network service of the NTA and AIT from 4:30 p.m. with live radio broadcast on Cool FM, Wazobia FM and Nigeria Info. You can also join online at sporty.com and NPFL TV. The FIFA World Cup qualifiers are proudly brought to you by BetNiger and supported by MTN, Coca-Cola and Dettol, proud sponsors of the Super Eagles.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. Next is business news.
Signing the Memorandum of Understanding with 6 Deposit Money Banks, a small and medium enterprises development agency of Nigeria, Dr. Umaru Diko Rada said 50,000 Naira grant will be disbursed to more than 20 beneficiaries of the conditional grant scheme in 12 states of the Federation. He said since the inception of the grant in 2016, 28 states and the FCT have benefited from the scheme so far, explaining that the purpose of the scheme is to formalize micro businesses by registering them free with the Corporate Affairs Commission by providing business development services to MSMEs while monitoring their progress.
We'll continue to formalize the 40 million MSMEs that are informal, that is the macro businesses that are informal in the country, until when we reach an appreciable level of comfort that yes, we are able to formalize and our macro businesses can grow from macro to small to medium and to the large enterprise, and will be able to compete globally, regionally and nationally.
This project, this program is what a lot of us entrepreneurs have been aching to be a part of. And I thanks Madam for this vision.
Dr. Umaru Diko rather noted that by 2022, the entire 36 states must have been reached with a minimum of 90 to 100 beneficiaries across the 774 local government areas. With Business News Comfort, Amadou.
That was Comfort Amodu with Business News on Good Morning Nigeria. Coming up next is Newspaper Review.
Bayo Atebi is already in the house. Good morning, Bayo.
Good morning, Yusuf.
Welcome.
Good morning, Kester. Good morning, Nigeria. Thank you.
Kinsley, what do we have?
We have the Trust, which is with you, and I have the Nation newspaper.
Right. So
let's begin with the Nation.
Right.
Above the name flag, you have the following headlines. Petrol landing cost hits 264 naira per litre. Subsidy now 102.65 naira a litre. That's 102 naira 65 kobo. State of emergency likely in Anambra, that's page 5. Sanwo-Olu ex-governors eulogize Ndubuisi Kanu. 10 killed, 11 injured, and houses razed in Katsina. And you have below the name flag, Anambra 2021, a number of headlines there relating to the campaigns for the election coming up in a month or less a day. A lead story comes with a kicker. Minister, government will borrow to fund 6.2 trillion naira budget deficit. Government will borrow to fund 6.2 trillion naira budget deficit. Revenue not enough for critical projects, and Buhari presents 16.39 trillion naira estimates today. The key highlights are also indicated there as two sidebars on that front page. Oil benchmark, $57 per barrel. Exchange rate, 410 naira, 15 kobo to $1 US. Oil revenue, 3.15 trillion naira. Non-oil revenue, 2.13 trillion naira. Deficit of 6.2 to be borrowed. House seeks review of judges' salary. And then showdown likely at PDP NEC meeting over zoning. And right at the foot of the front page, Niger governor confirms Barao as Kontangora's 7th emir. A council poll in Nasarawa state. Adabo?
Okay, thank you. Kinsley, let's start with the reminders as usual on Daily Trust, and that's talking about school children in captivity. Federal Government College, Benin, KB, 113 days, and the Bethel Baptist High School, Kujama, 96 days. Right under that, you have the following stories. 37 days after, Buhari yet to appoint new ministers from Kano, Taraba. Details on page 38. And on page 6, scores killed, houses burnt as gunmen attack Zamfara village. Scores killed, houses burnt as gunmen attack Zamfara village. Details on page 6. Coming down, the big story on the Daily Trust is IPOP killings. Federal government moves state of emergency in Anambra. Details of that on page 5. On the writer's arm, Malami confirmed our worst fears, say state government. APC planning to rig, says the PDP. Take order to Zamfara, Katsina, Abuja, says. And then they are living in the past, according to the ruling party. Details of all this can be gotten on page 5. Just beside, we have 3 stories. The windows are Biafra agitation madness, counter groups likely Umahi, says Governor Umahi. That is details of that on page 5. And right under it, Nigeria, others to benefit as Google invest 410 billion naira in Africa's digital transformation. Details on page 21. And on page 20, FG, that's federal government, to borrow 6.258 trillion naira to finance 2022 budget. Now moving down the foot of the page, we have mixed reactions as NCC sets 18-year age limit for SIM ownership, others in draft regulation. Details on page 20. Mixed reactions as NCC sets 18-year age limit for SIM ownership, others in draft regulation. Details of that on page 20. Bayo?
Thank you, Yusuf. After a day of lull and successes registered by security agents in fighting banditry in Katsina, Zamfara, Sokoto, and Kebbi, there has been a resurgence now reported by these 2 papers. In Zamfara, you have scores that are reported to have been killed and houses razed by suspected gunmen in Kuria Madaro in the Zamfara state. Also in Katsina, 10 persons were said to have been killed, 11 injured, and houses raided. This took place in the Yasori village in Basari local government area. Apparently, the bandits, in their trail running away, they are still causing havoc. And in a related development, there has been concern expressed about the recent development in Niger State, which is in fact the title of the editorial. Yes.
That's leadership editorial. Dislodge Boko Haram terrorists in Niger State.
Now, what the editorial is saying is that because of pressure on bandits in Zamfara and Katsina states, they are apparently finding their way into Niger State. And the editorial is happening on the fact that Niger State, in spite of, it has been a very peaceful state, that when there was ethno-religious crisis, farmer-herders clashes, Niger State never experienced any of such. But of recent, because of the pressure and the pressure put on these criminals, they are now converging in Niger. And it is worse because in Shiroro local government area, the chairman has confirmed that they are now enticing the people that they have arms, they have money to give them to start rebelling against the government. And it is taking place in 8 wards, covering about 500 communities. That is the danger that needs to be stemmed.
Come on, Kingsley, Bayo, this sounds like a fairy tale somehow. The chairman of the local government really confirming that in his local government, about 500 communities have been taken over by Boko Haram.
That's right.
This is an official statement.
That's right.
A couple of months ago, the governor himself, Abubakar Bello, also indicated that there are portions of his state where persons suspected to be insurgents, Boko Haram, have hoisted their flag.
That is true. And the Niger State governor also said that farmlands have been razed and farmers chased off their farmlands. And in some other cases, farmers were recruited by either bandits, or Boko Haram elements to farm for them. Now, there are peculiarities about Niger, which we must also be conscious of. Niger State has the largest landmass of all the states in the Federation. Yeah. In fact, it is said that the landmass of all the 5 states in the southeast do not equal to that of Niger State. So policing Niger State effectively is a major challenge. And the Niger State also has boundaries. And these are forested areas. But it just tells you that with the dispersal of the bandits from Zamfara and other locations, whether Kaduna or otherwise where they were previously operating, they might seek a haven in Niger. So that's a wake-up call for the authorities, Nadabo.
It should be a wake-up call, really.
Start, ferreting them out. And but we had the Honorable Minister of Information as our guest on Tuesday. And part of what he said, and that of course is taken for granted, that where you find amity, as it were, between the bandits and Boko Haram, that could be a rarity. But the usual thing is that Bandits are pure criminals looking for sustenance, if you like. They are committing their offenses because they want money. They want another. But Boko Haram is ideologically driven. They want settlement. They want to take control. They want territorial superintendence wherever they are, even though they also could employ the tactics of the bandits.
Okay. Well, meanwhile, the federal government says no possibility is ruled out in terms of ensuring the sanctity of our democratic order in order to ensure that our elections in Anambra holds. This declaration was made by the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, and he says you cannot rule out possibility inclusive of declaration of a state of emergency where it is established, adding, in essence, that there is a failure on the part of the state government to ensure the sanctity of security of lives and property and democratic order. The position of the federal government is that elections are going to hold and necessary security and democratic order must prevail for the election. Meanwhile, the People's Democratic Party has enjoined the federal government to perish the thoughts of a state of emergency in Anambra. Spokesman Kola Ologbondiyan says that insecurity in Anambra is contrived and deliberately to derail the democratic order. He says that the federal government has all that it takes and its capacity to ensure that peace in Anambra before, during, and after the election, if it's so desired. Meanwhile, Governor Willie Obiano says that his state remains one of the most peaceful states in the country. The Commissioner for Information, Don Adinoba, who spoke on behalf of the governor, says elections were conducted in Borno and some other states in 2019 that had more security challenges than Anambra. So that has become a big problem. And talking about problems, Governor Dave Umahi has promised to deal decisively with parents of gunmen killing innocent persons and dubbed as unknown gunmen. The Ebonyi governor says that his choice of going against the parents of the hoodlums is aimed at arresting the widespread violence. He is categorical and he says, you council chairmen, traditional rulers, you know the parents of these boys. Any killing again, I will go after the parents of these boys so that they can see how painful it takes to spill the blood of innocent people. The governor elaborated, you know them. You even know their houses, their families and friends. You know the forest where they are hiding. All I'm asking is information. But due to your political interest in ahead of 2023, you are refusing to expose them. He issued what he called that I have nothing doing, ask them to come over and be empowered. He said, the boys that have nothing doing, come over to be empowered. And he's ready to get something meaningful for them to do. And they should stop killing our people. There should be no killing and burning of houses in my state. So he's categorical that these people are known. And unless people come out to reveal who they are, it will be difficult to end it. And another scholar in the United States, American academic, Ivan Sheehan, is reported in the Washington Post to have called on President Joe Biden to declare IPOB as a terrorist organization. He says airport establishment of an Eastern Security Network ended its pretenses of being a peaceful movement. He accused the leader of the proscribed group of supporting terrorism and using threats via Radio Brava. He asked, Mr. Kanu is clearly unconcerned and feels that there's no need even to disguise his support of terrorism. Is very worrisome. Mr. Shinan quotes, Mr. Kanu rhetorics are, I don't want peaceful actualization of Biafra. If they don't give us Biafra, they will die. He says, these are threats of a terrorist.
Okay, well, incidentally, on Tuesday this week and Wednesday this week, we discussed the situation in the Southeast and how to restore peace back in the region. And on Tuesday, when we had the first conversation, the Southeast governors met in Enugu and issued their communique. The matters were fully interrogated, but I'm just concerned about one aspect of what Governor Dave Umahi of Ebonyi State is quoted as saying, that he will go after the parents of the unknown gunmen or the known gunmen, since the
well, he's saying they are known.
Well, fine, that's fine. If they are known, then you go after them. There's no vicarious liability in crime.
Once they are known, I think that's open.
Absolutely, you go after them. Not like we have seen in this country in the past, where a journalist, would be alleged to have committed an offense, or some other person who alleged to have committed an offense. The law enforcement agents will go to the house to arrest the person. They don't see him. They pick up his wife or pick up his children.
Maybe after that he will come out.
Crime by proxy.
It's not done. It's not. People kicked against that.
By law, really shouldn't be.
It is not done. So, presumably, the governor would have spoken in a fit of rage in introducing that aspect that we will go after the parents. So if you don't find the parents, what will you do? If the parents are dead, you will go and dig up their corpses in the grave. But they ought to find all the solutions that they need to find, and they were brilliant suggestions that our guests, made on Tuesday and also yesterday. While we're talking about law, there is a story here on page 6. I also saw a clip of it on television last night, that the Senate is considering a bill, it has scaled second reading, for the establishment of 6 more law school campuses. And the bill is sponsored by Senator Smart Adeyemi. Well, very quickly, because we're getting short of time now for this, we have to be careful. We know that the population of students admitted into law faculties has grown, and therefore you have need for more law schools. But a law school is not just a building. It's not just a structure. Your library and then your faculty, that's to say, your teaching staff, they are very important. Yes. And then the whole idea of saying that you want to establish 6 more law schools in the 6 geopolitical zones, you already have a law school as a campus in each of the geopolitical zones. I've named them. Abuja, first of all, the original law school is in Lagos. Victoria Land, yes, Southwest. Abuja, which is Abuja here, North Central. There's a law school in Kano, that's Northwest. There is a law school in Yola, Adamawa, which is Northeast. There's a law school in Enugu, which is Southeast. There's a law school in Bayelsa, Yenagoa, that is South-South. And then Governor Wike, who himself is a lawyer, law school class of 97, is building another law school in Port Harcourt. That you will have 2 in the South-South, and the DG of the law school was at Port Harcourt about 2 weeks ago, and he commended the progress of work. When you say, how many libraries can you endow? It will be very interesting, for instance, if Smart Adeyemi as a senator were able to attract endowments to the existing law schools, to expand their facilities, to expand. You start creating additional law schools. Who is going to pay for the teachers? Who is going to, I don't know. These are the ways we create institutions, and then after a while, if we are not careful, employers will be saying, which law school did you attend?
It goes also universities and some other schools all over. The proliferation of these institutions is becoming so much of a problem, looking at how they are being spread, and that's more or less political, I must say.
Precisely.
But all the same.
There's a new commissioner of police for Anambra.
Yeah, it was announced.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Bayo. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria. We'll now take a break. Stay with us.
We started with a very aggressive response from the very beginning. If you remember the very first case in Nigeria, very well contained, very few infections arose from that. We started airport screenings and temperature checks way before anyone really understood what was going on. On the front lines of the response, the team here at the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, supported all the 36 states. At some point, we had teams in 32 of our 36 states concurrently, leading the response, the emergency operations centers, making sure we're getting the surveillance data, building up our information resources on our website. Our website became one of the most visited websites on the continent, as many other African countries were looking to the leadership Nigerians provided. At our Incident Coordination Center, people were working literally 14, 15 hours every single day.
This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Babe? Hey!
Hi!
It's hard to live when you are all alone.
Hi. So, my card isn't working. Hello?
All I hear with the...
Good morning, I'm
as it should be.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
The broadcast media ecosystem is dynamic and requires continuous training for practitioners to perform optimally. NTA TV College JOS invites relevant officers to the following specially packaged training programs. Archival Management System in the Broadcast Media, date 11th October to 29th October 2021, 3 weeks. Intermediate Presentation Techniques, date 11th October to 22nd October 2021, 2 weeks. Digital Satellite, Microwave, and RF Technologies, date 11th October to 15th October 2021, 1 week. Advanced Broadcast Accounting and Auditing, date 25th October to 5th November 2021, 2 weeks. Photojournalism and Photography, date 8th November to 26th November 2021, 3 weeks. Transmitter Operation and Maintenance, date 1st November to 5th November 2021, 1 week. The course fee for the 3-week course is 130,000 naira per participant, while the fee for the 2-week course and the 1-week engineering courses is 100,000 naira only per participant, accommodation inclusive. The venue for all courses is the serene and secure environment of NTA TV College near Old Government House, Rayfield, Jos. For more information, please call 0803-314-4383 or 0806-980-9807. NTA TV College Jos, training you to be the best you want to be.
Iheanacho near post and scores.
The Super Eagles of Nigeria will look to continue their excellent start to the World Cup qualifiers when they take on Leythove of Central African Republic. Will Leythove pull off a shock on the home soil of the Super Eagles? It's Nigeria versus Central African Republic at the Teslim Balogun Stadium in Lagos, Nigeria on the 7th of October, showing on the network service of the NTA and AIT from 4:30 p.m. with live radio broadcast on Cool FM, Wazobia FM and Nigeria Info. You can also join online at sporting.com and NPFL TV. The FIFA World Cup qualifiers are proudly brought to you by BetNiger and supported by MTN, Coca-Cola and Dettol, proud sponsors of the Super Eagles.
Well, as a prompt for our conversation segment on a new deal for the teachers and teaching profession in Nigeria, let's take a look at this package put together by Joseph Watson.
They shine the light for people to find their unique talents and see opportunities to build a better future. They don't just do this through academic teaching, but also by provision of psychological and motivational support for students to reach their full potential. They are teachers, and to some, teaching remains the best job in the world, as no one has thrived without learning. Despite this conviction, teachers in this part of the world work under sorry conditions described by many as a ridicule to the profession. It is either they are underpaid or they are last to take their salaries or not paid at all for years. In many schools, the working environment are never conducive, while instructional materials are far-fetched. The Nigerian Union of Teachers, NUT, has for long advocated for improved conditions for teachers through upward review of salaries and retirement age as way of dignifying the field. This demand is gradually seeing flashes of light as the federal government in 2020 approved a special salary scale and retirement age for teachers from 60 to 65 years. It was another glimpse of hope when the federal government approved the sum of 75,000 as a stipend per semester for students undergoing degree programs in education in public universities in Nigeria. This was made known by the Minister of Education, Adamu Adamu. He also says the Nigerian Certificate in Education NCE students will get 50,000 per semester as part of deliberate efforts by the Buhari administration to attract best brains into the teaching profession. But will these measures be enough to woo many into it? What can be done to regain respect and lost glories of the teaching profession? Guests on Good Morning Nigeria will x-ray these critical questions and profile solutions.
Thank you very much, Joseph Olsen, there for that backgrounder. We have guests with us in the Abuja studios as well as at some of our network centers. With us in the studios, let's welcome Professor Josiah Ajiboye. He is Registrar and Chief Executive of the Teachers Registration Council of Nigeria. Professor Ajiboye, pleasure to have you on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate you, and truly, Good Morning Nigeria.
Congratulations on your reappointment.
Thank you very much.
The Chief Executive of
Thank
the
you very
Registration
much.
Council.
Yeah.
Also here with us in the studios is Okechukwu Okorafor, who is a legal practitioner and head of legal of the NUT head office. Okorafor, delighted to have you with us this morning.
It's also my profound pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, from Borno, that's our Meduguri Network Center, would like to welcome Professor Suleiman Bello, is of the Teaching Service Board. Professor Suleiman Bello, delighted to have you this morning. Suleiman Bello, delighted to have you this morning.
Good morning.
All right, you saw there were two images that came up. The gentleman in white is Suleiman Bello. Honorable, you take the...
All right, now I think we have from Kaduna studio is Dr. Shehu Usman Mohammed Makarfi, Commissioner Education, Kaduna State. Makarfi, welcome to Good Morning Nigeria. We have a little challenge there, but all the same, like you were expecting Dr. Gentle Emela, also Commissioner Education Bayelsa State, whenever we are able to connect a link with him, we'll introduce him and then the conversation get on.
All right, gentlemen, once again, our pleasure to have you with us on the program this morning while our engineers sort out that glitch from Kaduna. First with Professor Ajiboye. We, of course, heard last year when the president first announced a policy for retirement age for teachers from 60 years to 65 years and length of service from 35 years to 40. And, of course, there are a raft of other ideas that have now been embedded, including what has been announced this week during the World Teachers' Day celebration. Just in terms of just evaluating all of this, is this a new deal for teachers and teaching in Nigeria? And if so, what should be the expectation?
Thank you very much. Actually, it's not just only a new deal, it's a new dawn for the Nigerian teacher. The Nigerian teachers are actually saying that they have never experienced this before, and they are actually appreciative of Mr. President for giving these approvals. You will recall that last year during the World Teachers' Day, Mr. President made the pronouncements on all the approvals that were given for the welfare of the Nigerian teachers. And like I said, Mr. President was actually guided by two major principles. One, how do we attract best brains to the teaching profession? For any country, you say education is the bedrock of development, okay? And the teacher holds the key to that education. And so you want to have quality teachers drive quality education. And in order to get these quality teachers, over the years we have been complaining about the quality of our teachers in the country. Something has to be done. Something gave way at a point in time when the teachers were exposed to the vagaries of the challenges of the society and things like that. And they also started engaging in so many things. And that distracted them from the proper job that they were employed to do. Because in some states of the federation, as at that time, salaries were not being paid and so many things. And so the teachers were distracted. Something gave way. But now there is going to be a sense of restoration. So one, Mr. President was guided by the idea of how do we attract best brains to the teaching profession? And two, how do we retain experienced teachers on the job? Those were the two major principles that guided Mr. President on those approvals. One, in attracting best brains, how do we make education consistent? You will recall that even when the bursary award to students were stopped generally in universities and things like that, and teacher grade 1 colleges in those days, they were still retained for education students. Mr. President felt that, look, one of the best ways by which we can do this is to reintroduce the bursary award for education students so that we can attract those who are in the first class category, those who are second class upper category into the education courses. And that is the idea that guided Mr. President. 2, how do we make sure that even the quality of teaching practice they do by way of funding the teaching practice experience in the area the same way we do for CWES, students who are under industrial work experience? How do we make sure that we fund the teaching practice? These are some of the things that Mr. President was thinking. Okay? And those experienced teachers who have been on the job, how do we make sure that we retain them? Because we discovered that most states of the Federation were actually not recruiting teachers. Some states, for the past 10 years, they have not done any recruitment in teaching. They have not done that. And it was getting glaring. You get to a school, you find only 4 teachers. It's amazing. And you begin to think, what is happening here? So we realize that experienced teachers are living in droves. And you need them. Even when you are doing recruitment, you need the experienced ones to be able to mentor the old ones. So how do we retain this category of teachers? And those were the 2 major things that guided Mr. President, and also some other things that we talk. But I have to be quick to say this. You know, the announcement of figures were not part of what was done this last term, because the implementation committee is still actually working on the figures. And I am very sure that at the appropriate time, these figures will be rolled out.
Which figures are you referring to?
Especially with this 75,000, 50,000 thing, I think they will still, you know, one thing that was concluded that we have started implementation was the 65 years and 40 years. We started implementation in January. All the other things are the implementation will start next year, 2022. So the implementation committee is still working out the details of the figures, and at the appropriate time, we are going to come out with that.
Okay, now, Yusuf Nadabo, it's very important for this to be straightened out. So we would like you to restate that. You are a member of the implementation committee.
Yes, I am a member of the implementation committee.
Because the report has been widespread.
Yes, everywhere we saw it.
Bursary award, 75,000, even in our background, 75,000 for students who are studying for a bachelor's in education in any of the disciplines, and then for NCA students it will be 50,000 naira per semester. So what is the current situation?
We saw it. We saw the report everywhere. But what we are saying is that, look, at the level of the government, you know, when maybe people were peeping into what the committee...
Draft documents.
The draft document being worked on by the committee, I think some people were peeping into that. But at the appropriate time, we're going to come out fully. At the level of the Federal Ministry of Education and at the level of the presidency and government, they will come out specifically on all this. But for now, let me say that the committee is still working. The implementation committee is still working. One aspect that has been concluded, and we have started implementation at the federal level, was this 65 years thing. That was the aspect that we have started implementation. We deferred from January this year. But if you recall that we have said that all the other approvals given by Mr. President will take effect from 2022.
People are very anxious, really, especially teachers, professors, about this. Very anxious indeed.
Oh, yes.
And they'll be asking whether, when you say at appropriate time, don't you have any timeline for that? Maybe that could just allay some of this.
No, they should not be. The anxiety should be kept in check, because we have said that implementation will commence 2022. Definitely. You know, the budget is still on, preparation is still ongoing. Mr. President is going to present the budget today. You need all these things to be reflected before you make a categorical statement. So I think we are being guided by that.
Okay, Barrister, let's, Okechukwu Okara, for that is, Head Legal Unit, NUT, Head Office. Yes. Let's hear your views on this issue. The deal, it's a big one.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Just like the professor said, it's not only a deal, but a new dawn.
It's a new dawn.
How do you feel about this?
Yes, we feel very positive about it, because we've been anxious and we've been making presentations in this regard, because we know that teachers, like the theme of the World Teachers Day 2021, that teachers are the heart of education recovery. You know, the world over, the COVID-19 became an issue. There was a crisis all over, economic crisis. And you know, once it touches the economy, it touches every industry in the economy, which the education industry was not left out. But luckily, and by the grace of God, you know, Nigerians were very religious people, and we're also coping with scientific ethics. But I think God has made it possible that the impact of COVID-19 is a little bit less. We also have the impact of insecurity. But coming back to how we see it, teachers being at the heart of education recovery needs motivation. When a well-motivated teacher will definitely make an effective teacher. It is one thing to be a qualified teacher. It's another thing to be an effective teacher. A teacher may be active without actually being effective. The effectiveness of a teacher is determined by the quality, by the character modification of the children that he is able to bring out, behavior modification. So then the work of the teacher is so enormous that we need motivation. And this motivation, the federal government, by the will and the wisdom of the president, has decided to increase the service years of the teacher from 35 to 40 years, or 60 to 65. And from our end, though we made impute, we see it as a parting gift, a patriotic gift, that instead of these additional 5 years, instead of using it to earn pension and relax at home, now these experienced teachers that would have ordinarily been eased out of service are now using it to plow back into the society, to make sure that there is a remedy, that we recoup the man hours, the lesson hours that were lost as a result of COVID-19, or the disruption that was, was incurred as a result of terrorists or insecurity in several parts of the country. So we are happy about it. The only aspect is that, like the implementation committee, we are glad that the TRCN is there, of which Prof represents the TRCN. NUT, the teacher, was left out in that committee because the teacher's input would have been vital. You cannot shave somebody's head in his absence. No. But apart from that, NUT is comfortable with these provisions. Prof spoke of the allowances or improvement to be done during practical teaching. It is actually in teaching practice, because there's a difference between practical teaching and teaching practice. Practical teaching is a practical aspect of the examination as a teacher, where you are practically examining. You demonstrate your teaching, a simulation of teaching process. But in teaching practice, like you said, that is where the grooming, the construction and reconstruction of the practical efficiency of the would-be teacher is being modified. So there is need that it should not be left in the hands of the student alone. The government has a role to play. The school should have a role to play. The state should have a role to play. Because if a teacher makes a mistake, that mistake becomes eternal. Because if you give a child a wrong information, it will not end with him. He will also transmit that same wrong information, both by action, by conduct, and by words of mouth to his peers. Because
now, teaching practice, by the way, as what he was explaining, is this. If it's a 5-year program you are running in a teacher's college, for instance, you do your teaching practice when you are in year 4.
Yes.
And then your practical teaching, you do it when you are in your year 5. That's your final year. So what exactly are you looking at now?
Yes.
In terms of proposal?
Yes. What we are looking at is that we are seeing a new dawn. Prof described it as a new dawn. A new dawn where the environment will be of global standard. The teaching environment, the classroom. Does the classroom have the facilities? If you go into some of our schools, you see where students stand to take notes. It shouldn't be. A student should be well seated in a classroom with at least with a simple chair and a simple table. There should be that. And then there should be instructional materials. We are gradually moving from the era of the use of chalkboard to use of marker and some other high-tech materials. These things should be there because there are our teachers who qualify in Nigeria and go outside to teach. So if a teacher learns standing writing and then there's even no blackboard and he receives only lecture instead of teaching, you think when that same teacher goes abroad, he won't know how to make use of ICT. He won't know how to make use of some other instructional materials that are of the high-tech nature. So what our expectation is now is that these instructional materials, teaching aids, both electronic and manual, will be available in our classroom so that the would-be teacher will be conversant with basic ICT usage.
Okay, we'll get down to the nitty-gritties of this much later in the course of this conversation. Let's cross over to Maiduguri. That's to meet Professor Suleiman Bello of Borno State Teaching Service Board. Prof, the package is there now, it's out. The implementation committee is really working on that, and that is in relation to the federal government for a start. I don't know. States, especially Borno State, how do you feel about this new deal for teachers?
This deal is a very welcome development for the people of Borno State, more especially because of the fact that Borno State has been worst hit by the insurgency, and anything that will accentuate the achievement of education to any extent in Borno State is welcome. But I would like to, before then, make some comments on what some of my professional colleagues have said. Teaching and teachers have been neglected for a very long time in this country, and attempts are now being made to somehow revamp it. And it is not just to increase the number of years of service from 60 to 65 that matters at the moment for the teachers, although it matters, but it may not be that what is very, very much important to them now. And also the incentive that is given to the students that have intention to professionalize in education, that's also important. But as one of the baristas said, motivation is the most important thing that the Nigerian teacher needs at this moment. A well-motivated teacher, as he said, actually impacts positively on the education system. If you look at the circumstances in which Nigeria has found themselves in, especially economically, teachers are the worst motivated. And a less motivated teacher certainly cannot perform. And we don't expect any results on our students from him. So I would have liked to concentrate more on motivation. Of course, increasing the number of years of service is a kind of motivation. But let's talk more about what will have an immediate impact on the teachers. We have seen for quite some time now the performance of our students in WAEC and NECO. It has always been following a downward trend, and nobody have ever asked why. Why? Part of it lies in the fact that the teachers who teach the students are themselves not motivated. We are not even talking about the quality of the input of the students that are fed into the system, but we are talking about the teachers. But even the quality of the input of the teachers, of the students into the systems themselves, has also a direct bearing with the quality of teachers at all levels. For example, the students that are admitted into secondary schools come from the primary schools. If the teachers at the primary school levels are not motivated, certainly the product they are training will be very poor, and therefore they will be transferred now to the secondary school. And then they will meet an unmotivated teacher at the secondary school. The unmotivated teacher at the secondary school transfers the same category of students to the university. And the unmotivated teacher at the university, which makes the student to go through degrees, transfers those bad, untrained or unqualified students into the society. And you will discover that maybe the quality of our graduates, as most of us know, are not as high as was before. I remember just recently we recruited about 1,000 teachers. For a job of 1,000, 15,000 people applied. we subjected them to aptitude test. It is there that we discovered that the problem is far greater than we think. The problem starts from the primary, up to the secondary, up to the university. And therefore, we have to address this issue. And if you look at what are those problems, it starts with the fact that the teachers who are responsible for teaching these students right from the primary to the secondary and probably to the university are not highly motivated like their counterparts in other parts of the world. So I think we need to concentrate on how to motivate teachers. And one way to motivate teachers, as perhaps exemplified by our governor when he looked into this issue, was to make sure that teachers who teach in the secondary schools are first well accommodated, because there was plenty of absenteeism and late coming to schools. And when he discovered that this late coming to schools were caused by certain factors, and what were those factors? A teacher will be leaving about 5 to 6 kilometers from the school he's teaching. He had to take about 2, 3, 4 drops of kekena pep. So he discovered that before he comes to the school, if the school starts by 7:30, that means that man will be late, that teacher will be late for about an hour, and by which time the students must have lost 1 lesson or 2 lessons. So he said, okay, the best thing is let us build accommodation in the schools to accommodate the schools within that institution, that is the secondary school. So there will be no reason for a teacher now to say he's late. So that's one motivation was given to the teachers. And again, as I said, because of this insurgency, most of our schools were closed in the local governments that were affected. So now that they have been opened, so these teachers were now asked to relocate back. And because of the fear of the unknown, most of these teachers were agitated not to go back. And then the governor said, okay, let me make a difference. And he introduced what is called rural teacher allowance. So if you are teaching inside Maiduguri and you are teaching in Gambaru or Goza, you will have a special allowance of over 20,000 above other colleagues that are inside the city. And that actually changed the attitude of so many teachers that were hesitant to go back to the rural areas. And these are the kind of motivations that we want to be given to teachers, so that when they go to the classroom, they become very effective in discharging their responsibilities as teachers. But when you leave a teacher, he goes, he has no motorcycle, he has no car, and he lives 5 kilometers away from where he's teaching, and you expect him to be effective in the classroom? Certainly not.
Professor Suleiman Bello, there for the points that you have highlighted. We know that Borno represents a peculiar case on account of what has happened in the past decade or more. We will return to you in the course of the conversation. Earlier, my colleague Nadabo did indicate that we were having another guest who will be joining us this time from Yenagoa. He's via Zoom, and you can see him there on the right side of your screen. Dr. Gentle Emela is the Commissioner for Education in Bayelsa. Dr. Emela, pleasure to have you with us on the program this morning.
Good morning.
All right, thanks. So we'll keep you on hold because, as the saying goes, where the equities are equal, first in time, first in right. We earlier introduced the Honorable Commissioner for Education in Kaduna. That's Dr. Shehu Makarfi. Dr. Shehu Makarfi, you saw him in his blue agbada a while ago. Dr. Makarfi, back to you again in our Kaduna Network Center. Now, straight away, what is your reading of the new policy for teachers described as a new deal and then also as a new dawn? And in asking this question, I would like you to let us have your government's understanding of this. Is this a federal government policy for federal government employees, or you see it as a national policy applicable to all categories irrespective of who the employers are?
Thank you. I congratulate the Nigerian teacher for this development. It's what we've been looking for. We wanted a good example from the federal government. We've been waiting for the policy to come up. And I want to assure you that Kaduna State government will be very ready to queue in. And observations. The first one is the dichotomy or the difference between the stipend of an NCE teacher student, the student in the NCE program, and that of a degree program. That's where we are starting it. You see, the bedrock of the system starts from primary school. And somebody who is passionate to teach, has taken teaching as his own profession, would want to see a very good background from primary school. If you start this dichotomy right from now, that somebody who is going for NCE program will have 50,000 naira stipend, somebody going for degree program will have 75,000. You have started it. Let us fill in this gap, either in kind or in cash, to ensure that the passion somebody has for teaching should not deter him to go for NCE, should not just push him to go for degree just because the stipend degree program is higher. You have to start somewhere. What we've seen in the system is that people always in teaching profession apply outside the teaching profession to other professions or to other jobs. Always you find that you hardly see somebody from other professions applying to join the teachers. This is because the motivation, as my colleagues have spoken about, is very poor. So let's start from the beginning. Let's get it right. Let's give a lot of incentive for people that want to teach at primary school level, particularly through NCE. Now imagine somebody going to a university to study education will have a cutoff mark of 180. Somebody going for medicine is having 240. You have already also done a very big dichotomy there. If you want to attract the best brains to teaching profession, raise the standard of entry, give a lot of motivations. That's why you'll get the right people in the right job. Or else people will develop pseudo passion to go into this profession, which is actually not true. They are just going there for the, what you can see physically. It's necessary for us to support this project, to support the incentive created. It's necessary for us to also ensure that teachers are supported to discharge their responsibility in schools. I want to take the angle the barrister have explained to say that if you want to motivate a teacher, yes, give him the right pay. Let him not be enticed by any pay outside the system. Again, support him with technology to deliver. The teaching profession requires somebody to stand before others to demonstrate, to instruct, to guide, to tutor, and also to mentor. So the person also needs technology. Now you cannot do it without technology. So I'm of the opinion that federal government the working committee should come up with details and some minimum standards that every teacher should have as an instrument, as knowledge in technology, and also teaching aids in a classroom, so that could be a national package, that wherever a teacher is at primary school level, that teacher must possess this. At secondary level, that teacher must possess this. Also at the university and the rest of them. It's critical for us to actually promote those who have the true passion for teaching, both at primary, secondary, and the university level. The 65 years teaching, years of service has all along been echoed several times. And it's the right time now. Already in Kaduna State, we've started implementing long ago with the College of Education, Gidanwe, and the university. That's not new to us. Already in Kaduna State, we're paying 25% higher to our teachers than those in the core civil service. Currently, we just concluded the recruitment of 7,600 teachers, and what we saw is just like what my brother from Borno State have said. Those of them that have come in, when we subject them to test, we realize that some of them need to go back to the university where they are trained. So for us, training and retraining of teachers, different form of motivations, using technology will help us to adapt the blended learning we have come to realize that we cannot do without now because of COVID-19 and other pandemics around our environment. We should make sure that teachers can give assignments. Children should be able to access their teachers at home so that learning can take place. It shouldn't only be confined to four-wall classroom. And the teachers that will do this must be supported technologically to deliver, to get to their students wherever they are. And now the quality of the colleges of education we have, both at federal and state, must be improved. The learning environment of a college of education compared to learning environment of a university always differ. And this also sends wrong signals to those who want to go in and do NCE and teach. What I'm simply saying is that please let us start getting right from the basic education. Let's support those teachers that want to start from basic education. Let us not put something too much, let's put not too much gap that somebody will say, okay, let me apply to the university. If I don't get it, then I will come and manage with the NCE program in a college of education. We are in support of it, and we'll do our best to ensure that we implement that, and also we'll also do better than what even federal government is agitating for. Congratulations, Nigerian teacher.
Many thanks, Dr. Shehu Usman from Kaduna. Let's move over to Bayelsa and hear from Dr. Gentle Emela, Commissioner of Education, Bayelsa State. You've heard, what your colleagues have said, especially from Borno and Kaduna State. Let's get your perspective of this deal for teachers. How is it playing out in Bayelsa State?
I must say that the teaching profession is a noble profession. It's, in fact, the mother of all profession. And I think that if there's anything we need to do to encourage the teachers, to motivate them to work, I think we should not follow our hands out in this point. On that note, I want to say that the policy, as pronounced by the federal government, is a welcome development. It is, of recent, we are seeing a lot of attention being given to this long neglected profession. And for us, we are glad as a people because we know that this is a policy that will attract most of the best brains to take into teaching profession. As we speak now, the economy is on the downside. And every parent would be glad to see that if there is something extra that is coming to contribute to his or his her daughter's our child education. And basically, what the federal government has done is quite in order. And then, as a state, I know that I had it, I read it. The policy is supposed to trickle down from the federal government to state, and then whatever. And for us, I think we are prepared to encourage our students who are willing to take the education as a profession. As we speak, we are preparing our schools to make sure that we make learning more conducive for our students. Of course, it has been on the front burner, where you see most of our courses in our universities and tertiary institutions having full accreditation. And for you to have full accreditation to most of these courses, you must make sure that the basic facilities are provided. And that's good to say that we as a government, we are on the front line of making sure that we give all what it takes to make education a success. And without the teaching profession, definitely there's nothing we can do about it. There's no way we can grow as a state. There's no way we can grow as a nation. But if we must get it right, which I can see that there's seriousness in recent time on the part of government by taking teachers' issues very seriously. For instance, you are aware that the issue of retirement age has been scaled up, and then the issue of the teachers' salary scale, which we're looking at it to make sure that we're equally keen to make sure that things become a little bit more comfortable for our teachers. We must treat teachers with respect. We must treat teachers with very high value. Once we give good and attention to the teaching profession, I believe that every other sector would definitely pick up. And what has happened at this level, based on the policy that was pronounced on the World Teachers' Day, is a welcome development, and we hope to key in.
That's what you just wanted to talk about.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Emela, there for your opening comments. We will come back to you in the course of the conversation. Let's return to our two guests. with us here in the studios, the Registrar of the Teachers Registration Council, Professor Ajiboye. Professor Ajiboye, we would like to have some greater clarity on the extent of the new policy. I mean, I asked that question. Is this a policy applicable to federal government employees, or is it a policy that is applicable nationwide?
Yeah.
What is the implementation committee looking at?
Thank you very much. I think, you know, it's a glaring thing that education is on the concurrent list. And being on the concurrent list, you need the buy-in of all the states. In fact, the states are the largest employer of these teachers that we are talking about. Okay, and after Mr. President's approval, the next thing we did at the level of the implementation committee, a team was led by the Permanent Secretary of the Federal Ministry of Education, Architect Sonny Chono, and myself. We went to meet with all the heads of service of all the states of the Federation at their national meeting, where the heads of service of the civil service of the Federation is the chairperson. Okay, they had their meeting in Lagos last year, December, and we were there to meet with them. And we presented the document to them, the policy document to them. And I want to say here that actually we received a very warm reception, and they gave approval to all the things. In fact, I'm glad to say that you can see that some states, they said they have started implementation. Some of the aspects, you know, even during this World Teachers Day, this year World Teacher Day, Jigawa State announced that they are starting the implementation of the 65. So some states of the Federation have even gone ahead to start implementation of some of these things. But you see, we need the buy-in of the states. Yes, the states are the largest employer of the teachers, and please, we want you. Yeah, you know, you can hear the commissioners mentioning the importance of motivation. You know, if, you know, Nigerians normally look at the economic aspect or the monetary aspect. If we go beyond the monetary aspect of what Mr. President approved, Mr. President approved rural housing. Yes. Rural housing for teachers. Okay, that is housing for teachers in rural areas. Is part of the approval of Mr. President. Mr. President approved that a teacher must attend at least one conference in a year, because we have discovered that some teachers have been there for several years. They have never gone for in-service training, which they mentioned is very, very injurious to, because in teaching, new developments keep on coming in, and they have emphasized the importance of technology. Mr. President recognized that, and that was why at the level of the Teachers Regional Council of Nigeria, we started what we call the Digital Literacy Training Program in 2018, and we are continuing. What the government is trying to do now is to say that, look, we are going to empower TRCN, NTA, and other agencies like that to make sure that they engage in this digital literacy training comprehensively for the Nigerian teachers. They are part of the approval of Mr. President. So people normally look at the monetary component, and that was what they accentuate. Okay, but what we can tell Nigerians is that, look, Mr. President is looking at it in an holistic manner, and we also expect our state governments to please do a buy-in into all this. It was approved at the National Council. They call it National Council on Establishment. Yes, that's the name of that group. It comprises of all the heads of service of each state of the federation, and the head of service of the federation as the chairperson. So they approved they gave all the approval, and that was why the implementation could be fast-tracked, because after that, we went to the head of service of the federation, and an implementation committee was inaugurated by herself, and also having salaries and wages and some other groups that are supposed to be in that committee. And that's why we feel very strongly that having that implementation committee in place, we will be able to move very swiftly in approving, in implementing what Mr. President has approved.
Okay.
So what we are trying to do is to get the states of the federation, they have already indicated that you can see the overwhelming support that the idea is getting, because everybody recognizes the role of the teacher. Yeah. Everybody recognizes the role of the teacher. Look, it is in some other climes, you will see that the teacher, look, I normally say this, teachers, if you go to Finland, if you go to Germany, you go to all these developed, Sweden, everywhere, you will see that the teacher is rated above all the other professionals. It is very, very critical. If you want to develop as a country, and that's why I call it a new dawn. We have never had it so good.
And,
at the level of the teaching profession in Nigeria. But if somebody is now telling us that is interested in revamping, in revitalizing the teaching profession and making sure that the teaching profession is brought to the front burner of implementation of the education in Nigeria, I think we have to support Mr. President in achieving this.
I mean, even in this country, Prof, there are times when, teachers were rated very high from the traditional ruler
apart from
to the
the
judge.
next
He's
person,
about the
after
third
the traditional
person.
ruler, is
the next
teacher.
person. So we rose up to find this kind of setup, and we're being brought up in that line. But along the line, just like the theme, like the theme of this year's Teachers' Day says, teacher at the core, the heart of recovery, which means something has gone wrong. We need to recover it.
But thanks. Before you pop your question, as part of the glorious days of teachers and teaching, I mean, we've been informed on Good Morning Nigeria for a couple of times that in the past, during the colonial era, when the colonial administrator, Governor General, wasn't available, I think in hierarchy, after the chair of UAC or Royal Niger Company, the number 2 or 3 in terms of administrative hierarchy was the principal of King's College in Lagos.
That's the classification.
Yes, precisely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Naturally,
Precisely.
that's the way it is.
Yes. All right, Honorable.
So, Okechukwu Okorafo, NUT.
Yes.
This is a national policy.
Yes.
It's a 13-point national policy with so many issues. Very good indeed, laudable, and then very, impressive there. This is just a policy.
Yes.
And we are trying to see how the subnationals could just key into this and then make it work, and then the teacher in Nigeria becomes, somebody respected, and even get that glory back to him.
Yes.
What else do we need to do in order to make this thing really much stronger a policy and much stronger a law?
Yes. You see, a policy is just a repetitive guideline, a guideline. But NUT is of the opinion, in fact, the national leadership of the NUT, Dr. Nasiru Idris, and his team, we've been pressing for an act of the National Assembly.
Okay.
We want an act of the National Assembly. If these provisions, if these prescriptions, if these approvals are backed up by an act of the National Assembly, then acts are superior to laws. Laws are superior to policies. So it will now have a deep down and nationwide applicability. And it will then become an offense, so to say, for a governor or for a commissioner to say, I will not abide by the provisions of this act.
Okay.
Another thing that has to be done, as a new salary package is being prepared, there ought to be a homogeneous scheme of service for the teachers of Nigeria. So that just like if a policeman says he's a sergeant, whether he's in Borno or he's in Bayelsa or he's in Abakaliki, you know who a sergeant is. Then a sergeant knows that from a sergeant he's going to an inspector. But the teachers of Nigeria do not have a common scheme of service. You see in Lagos, they may say a teacher gets to tutor general. But if you talk of tutor general in Kaduna, nobody knows what it means. In Borno, nobody knows what it means. In Ebonyi, nobody knows what it means. In some states, it's a bizarre that for the fact that a teacher with a PhD teaches in a primary school, you see some glorified clerks in the system, sorry to say this, saying you cannot go beyond level 13 because you're teaching in the primary school. It shouldn't be so. It should be every teacher that is a graduate teacher should be able to aspire to get to grade level 17. And that is what the scheme of service for teachers and education officers in the federal civil service is. And we are saying, NUT is saying that it should have a national applicability. That of the federal should apply, or any other one that will be midwifed that will apply for all teachers in Nigeria be adopted. And that is when this salary structure that is being packaged for Nigerian teachers will be meaningful. It will not have any obstacle in its implementation. So we are saying teacher salary structure that will have a national applicability, the retirement age for teachers that will have a national applicability, and all these things should be backed up by an act of the national assembly.
How would you respond? I'm not about just going to say, I know you're going to say something as well.
Yeah.
Well, we live in an age of agitation.
Yes.
So some persons will say true federalism. How will that affect the proposals that we are making?
Yes.
True federalism. Leave us to what we can do.
Yes. Are we not in a federal system when our policemen are the same? Are we not in a federal system where there is a prescribed salary structure for commissioners in the states and salary table for heads of service and governors and deputy governors? We are in the same federalism. So why should that of the teacher? Sir, I hope that you will not help in rolling back the provisions and advocacy that is being made in favor of the teacher.
No.
Sir. Why should it be once the issue of the teacher is mentioned, true federalism comes in? But when nurses, excuse me, sir, nurses have a common hierarchical scheme of service, and true federalism is not being presented.
Barrister Okorafor,
sir.
Hang on a second. Our disposition is to ask as many questions as the viewers out there would like addressed.
Yes, sir.
Some will say devil's advocate, but we say we are angels advocates. I'm not
you,
saying
sir.
that roll back this. There are persons who would argue that look, this should be the business of states. Let me give you an example. There's the issue of the national minimum wage. There are persons who have been advocating that should take the national minimum wage off the exclusive list, and even as prescribed by law, how many states are obeying the national minimum wage? So how do we get around this kind of issue?
Okay.
I think hang on a second. Hang on, Prof. Let him respond because then we'll come back to it.
How we will get out of it is that now that as a nation, we are in the process of nation building. We are in the process of getting things that have gone wrong, getting them right. Let us get them right once and for all. Everybody has seen that if you don't give the teacher the right training, the right working condition, the right tools, and the right equipment, and the right motivation, that our school system will not function, and that the education system will be ailing. So now that the president is taking the lead, let us give it a holistic repair. Let us give it a holistic reconstruction so that our education system will be able to stand on its feet. There's another beautiful package which the president even approved, that funding of education be treated as a first-line charge. And NUT is of the strong opinion that once it is taken as a first-line charge in the federation account, it means that funding of education will be lifted off the burden of the states. And there will be no discrimination as to say this teacher comes from this state or the other state. It is taken up as a fundamental national issue that needs overall support, overall treatment, overall lead, kind of. So that once it's taken as first-line charge, the same salary applies to every teacher, no matter where you are in the federation. Be you a federal employed by the federal government or employed by the state. As far as you are a public servant serving as a teacher, the same working condition applies to you.
And if you are living in expensive states like Lagos or Rivers,
or even the FCT,
or Federal Capital Territory.
Yes, you see, sir.
Yes.
Since if a company comes in now to NTA and decides to replenish or replace your cameras with a more sophisticated one, wouldn't you accept it? We will all clap for that company. If Apple comes in and discovers there are better ways of transmitting your news, you will welcome it. So if the teachers in Lagos State, if the governor of Lagos State, in his wisdom, decides to give the teachers of Lagos State a largesse, they will welcome it with open hands. And if the teachers of Ebonyi, Governor His Excellency Dave Umahi, decides to give them limousine all through, they will receive it without pleasure, without bias and prejudice. The teachers of Nigeria are ready to welcome any extra gift, but let the fundamentals be done. And the fundamentals are funding of education, first-line charge, homogeneous scheme of service for applicable to all teachers, the teacher salary structure approved for all teachers.
Okechukwu Okorafor, the President, Muhammadu Buhari, has just opened the window.
Yes.
All right? And it's now left for the NUT, the teachers, and all other stakeholders now to key into it, and this is how this one would work. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria, a new deal for teachers and teaching profession. We'll now take your break. The conversation continues after the break. Stay with us.
Chief Resident Engineer and Project Supervisor of the Second Niger Bridge Project. The Second Niger Bridge Project is a project that has been conceived for a very long time, but it has finally come to life during this present administration. This project has a lot of socio-economic benefits, and it has impacted positively on the lives of the host communities, both in Anambra State and Delta State. The people are very happy. The host communities, they partnered with us because apart from the social benefits, indigenes are also employed on this project. We can see how their lives are being improved.
This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Iheanacho near post and scores.
The Super Eagles of Nigeria will look to continue their excellent start to the World Cup qualifiers when they take on Lethove of Central African Republic. Will Lethove pull off a shock on the home soil of the Super Eagles? It's Nigeria versus Central African Republic at the Tesla Balogun Stadium in Lagos, Nigeria on the 7th of October, showing on the network service of the NTA and AIT from 4:30 p.m. with live radio broadcasts on Cool FM, Wazobia FM and Nigeria Info. You can also join online at sporty.com and NPFL TV. The FIFA World Cup qualifiers are proudly brought to you by BetNiger and supported by MTN, Coca-Cola and Dettol, proud sponsors of the Super Eagles.
Welcome back. We're discussing a new deal for teachers and teaching profession this morning on Good Morning Nigeria. Before we get out of the studio, let me just not lose the fact that you raised a point. Yes. And that point is the issue of the other issues involved in trying to make this policy a national one and all binding for states. Yes. The NUT has a lot on its own table. What are you doing about it so far?
Well, the NUT, we've been reaching out because you see, when you have a view, you lobby. Mm-hmm. We've been reaching out to stakeholders, and glory be to God, Prof is here in person. The Teachers Registration Council, being our regulatory body of teachers, we've also reached out to them. The Honorable Minister of Education, Malam Adamu Adamu, has been useful and has been helpful. There are some senators, we don't need to list them here, and some other stakeholders and eminent citizens. NUT has reached out to very strong and powerful traditional rulers in the country, both from the north to the south, east and west, and other opinion molders. Because if you have an idea, if you don't lay it on the table, others may not buy into it. So, and we are glad that people are buying into it. We don't just believe in strike. We believe in education. We believe in enlightenment. We believe in campaign, not in the sense of political campaign, but in the sense of enlightenment, so that people can now see. Because education is something that pertains to the society. It pertains to your children, my children, myself, and our future. There's an adage in Igbo land. Permit me to say this. What it means is that if you see a chicken, a chicken in a cesspit or in the dustbin, drive it away from there. You don't know who eat the legs. You may travel to Makode and you say you need chicken, and it may be the chicken you saw in Boko that you saw in the dustbin and you didn't drive it away. So if we get our schools right, if we give our children the right education, that child you saw in Ebonyi may be the person to attend to you in CBN tomorrow. He may be the doctor that will attend to you in Damaturu or even in River State. So every Nigerian child belongs to the nation. And what is good for one child is good for the other. Even our out-of-school children, we need to bring them back. But the spirit of these people who will handle them in the school as a clinic is that of the teacher. And the teacher has to be in a right frame of mind. His ego needs has to be captured. His domestic needs has to be captured. Glory be to God. The president has awarded us that the children of some basic free attention or free school free
services to our children. In fact, we describe the President Muhammad Buhari, GCFR, as the most teacher-friendly president. Not for the fun of it, but no other president has ever given the issues of teachers the kind of attention, bringing it to the first burner as our president today is doing. If others had done what he's doing now, he would have taken it to a higher pedestal. But since they've failed to do what they should have done, he's now taking it from the scratch, from the pieces, pulling it together for it to be lifted to global standard. Kudos to him.
Thank you very much, Barrister Akora, for your perspectives. Let's return to Shehu McAfee, Kaduna Network Center, the Commissioner for Education in Kaduna State. Dr. McAfee, well, a matter that engages us on Good Morning Nigeria from time to time is how to move from the code letter of a blueprint, of a policy, or of law to implementation. Because at the level of implementation, we always face practical challenges, which is what we are discussing today. Now, the federal government is championing all of this, and your state has already keyed into some aspects, but the expectation will be that it will be a holistic package, not that a state will take an aspect that is convenient to it and then, of course, discard another one. I'm just wondering, is the National Council on Education fully apprised of this policy? And if so, have you, as members of the National Council on Education, discussed this and then reverted to your respective principals? Because, let's face it, we know how powerful state governors are in our current dispensation. What are the issues that we should be concerned about, or we should tick and say we need to work harder on these aspects to ensure that the policy, once implemented, becomes truly salutary to teachers and teaching?
Thank you, Kingsley. It's a national issue, and every state, I'm sure every state will want to queue in. I'm sure, yes, we are in a federation. There are differences. Resources are not the same. Of course, the size and number of teachers in each state are not the same. The number of schools are not the same. But again, the implementation committee, I'm sure, will have a very robust advocacy program to go out and reach all the stakeholders. For us, in Kaduna State, like I said at the beginning, we are very much ready to ensure that we do better than what the federal government has proposed. My concern is getting the right teacher recruited to make sure that all the investment you've done will not go in vain. I'm saying this because, unfortunately, there's no teachers' colleges now that award grade 2 certificate. We can't go back to it again. But how do you get the right person to enroll for NCE program, the right person to enroll for B.Ed education program that will also, all the investment that we are going to put in that direction, we are able to harvest it later when the person graduates. I still have some fears in me that somebody will come in because of the motivation, because of the stipend, and of course, after graduation, the person also will disappear. You have to now start the recruitment exercise from the beginning. This is my concern, and I think the implementation plan should look at how do we put a program in place that will entice people that are students, that have the passion for education, have the passion to teach, to come into NCE and degree programs. Number two, we should also have the advocacy extended to the leadership, the governors. And also, let's look at the resources available to state. I love the idea of having education. Currently, it's on the concurrent list. Let's have whatever we're going to do on the first line charge. That will help a lot because you are looking at the nation, and the bedrock for development is education. So let's everybody echo every sentiment and say that, look, I'm ready to sacrifice whatever it takes to develop the education sector so that others can benefit. And of course, also the implementation plan should also look at the 65 years retirement age should not be a total blanket something. It should have some criteria to achieve. Individuals differ. After 60, people respond to issues differently. Let's have additional motivation for people to come into the profession before 60 so that we can enjoy their experiences. Nedabo, Kingsley, we want you back to classroom when you retire. But there must be something that will entice you to come in, that will motivate you to come in, because you might have a better future in your media profession. But if there is something better than what you are planning for, you will come back to it. So for me, we should do a lot from the grassroots to ensure that the right person gain admission to NCE and degree program. Let us sustain it. Let's ensure that the motivation is sustained. After graduation, the motivation should be sustained. Let's keep records of the entry. Let's keep record of attrition to bring back those who want to go out. I am afraid. I have seen instances where we have invested in teachers. I was once a provost of College of Health Science and Technology in Makarifi. We employed somebody on grade level. From where he came to our school, he was on grade level 9. To motivate that person, he came on grade level 12. But unfortunately, after a year of training, he came back from the training, he was doing very well. He was offered something that was much more twice than what the state government can afford. He left the system. He was not at federal level. He was in a different show altogether. So you see, this kind of thing is still there. We must aggregate this and also put up a package that there is enough motivations for teachers that have the passion to remain in the teaching profession. Those who retire from companies and private practices should be enticed to come in after some years of service in their own profession. The experience they have acquired will help us in classrooms, because sharing experiences with students at the university level or lower will help them understand the world better, will help to understand the nature of development. And I want to assure you that these issues, of course, came up for discussion at the National Council of Education meeting in Jalingo a month ago. Most cases that were discussed were issues: how do we motivate teachers to remain in teaching profession? The recruitment was not actually an issue. When you advertise you want to employ 7,600 teachers, we had over 50,000. Over 50,000 applied. But we are only requiring 7,600. But how many of them that will be recruited will remain in the service in the next 3 years? This is the critical issue. So I'm employing Nigerians to support teachers around them. I'm sure the role of a teacher has been well seen now during COVID-19, when people have been clamoring, calling us to open schools because they are unable to manage 2-3 children at home. When they now realize the value of a teacher that will be giving 20-30 children in classroom, I am sure even the communities, the societies, associations, and what have you have now realized the value of a teacher. So let's all support them. It's not only government support that they require. They require our community and societal support for them to remain in teaching profession and to do their best in raising our leaders of tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sheikh Usman Mohammed. Professor Suleiman Bello, let's hear from you once again. You earlier started by telling us what the strides are in Borno State, and then how far you've gone in trying to see to it that teachers were really motivated. Now, what else would you want to add in relation to having a comprehensive package as far as this policy is concerned? Okay, Chuku said here that it's supposed to be an act anyway, but all the same, let's get the inputs now, more of such inputs in order to make this very policy a very sound one, which at the end of the day will not be beneficial to any other teacher in Nigeria, be it in the north or in the south, in the west or in the east.
Thank you very much. Before I go on, let me still re-emphasize and then support the fact that this particular deal has to be supported by an act of the National Assembly. The reason for this is that any other one day, maybe one administration will come in and will say, no, this is not important to me. And that will trigger a lot of controversy between the unions and the federal government. But once there's a legal backing, then certainly people like the head of the legal unit at NUT, will have something to hold on to argue for the fact that this has to be implemented. So the issue of just leaving a deal hanging, I don't think will be as important as the idea it is. So we support the federal government in this. So let them go a step further by taking this to the National Assembly to get a legal backing so that teachers can be happy and feel secure that this deal will stand the test of time for them. Secondly, I would want to go back to what one of my colleagues from Kaduna said about the quality of the teachers. You see, if you look at the quality of teachers that emanate from the universities and colleges of education, it tells a lot about perhaps the training that they get at the university. First, because I was partly also involved in running a college of education, and I'm a trainer at the university. What I discovered is that at this particular time, to separate the issue of education and training, most of our teachers are educated. Very little attention is given to training. So if you educate more, you concentrate more on education. That means teaching them psychology, curriculum, foundation, guidance and counseling, education technology. These are the curriculum that form the bulk of the education that is being given to the graduates of education. But very little is given to that aspect of training. Hitherto in the past, there was what was called teacher training. In those days, teacher training was emphasizing more on training, which means training means if a person is educated, he has to have skills to impart what he has acquired as a form of education. So I would like the implementation panel to please maybe make it as a kind of policy for the National Colleges of Education, National Commission for Colleges of Education, and NUC to re-examine the curriculum of training teachers at the Colleges of Education level and at the university level, so that we increase the amount of training that the teacher is supposed to be exposed to before he becomes a professional teacher.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Suleiman Bello. I mean, you've raised additional issues by way of rejoinder to the comments by your colleagues as well as your own propositions. There are many more perspectives to still explore on this, and that tells you how interesting this conversation has been. We do hope that we have the opportunity of returning to it and then getting a much wider perspective. Let me give a hint of something, because Barrister Okorafor, is saying, look, let's have a unified scheme of service for teachers with its own benefits that you have articulated. We have also heard on Good Morning Nigeria, the Minister of Labour and Employment, and it says that one of the key issues they deal with as part of seeking to resolve industrial disputes has to do with the proliferation of schemes of service. I think we're dealing with a dozen or more, and they were now seeking to streamline it. So you want to create another one? But of course, it would be for him to respond to that and then to say, look, yes, teachers truly deserve this. But let's get the Honorable Commissioner for Education from Bayelsa, Dr. Gentle Ebela. Dr. Ebela, well, we said that there are practical issues with implementation. Again, the same question I asked, has the National Council on Education considered some of these aspects of the policy, as much as we can take before we wrap up for today and probably at some point return to this same topic to deal with it, because Professor Ajiboye here is itching to say a lot more. What are the things that we should be concerned about? You have an act. Let me give you another practical issue. You say graduates of education or NCA should be granted automatic employment. Suppose the state says, look, my carrying capacity cannot accommodate this. What do we do? Again, it's not nothing new. In the 70s, as part of the preparation for universal primary education, if you left your teacher's college, today is what, 7th of October, Nadabo?
Yeah.
If you finished 7th of October, by the 8th of October 2021, you were deemed employed.
Yes, sure.
Can we do that today as this policy seeks to achieve? And we will get the cooperation of state governments?
Yeah, thank you. I think it all depends on what we want to do and the mindset of government. I would say that teachers are living in quite interesting time because of recent so much attention has been given to see how we can boost their morale and motivate them to do better. Yes, it's possible, it's doable. Just like you said before now, those that attended the teacher training college, as soon as you're graduating, immediately you graduate, you are employed and you're posted to a school to go and teach. And that was in those days, but now things have changed. I equally remember that even the College of Health Technologies, as soon as you gain admission to such schools, they start paying you salary while as a student. And by the time you graduate, you're immediately employed in the primary health sector. So maybe you head a primary health center. So if we are looking at the policy where maybe we can give automatic employment to an NC holder, it's fine and good. But the thing is, the resources to sustain it. As we speak today, there are challenges at the primary school level. You know, the salaries of teachers at this level of the profession are born, a huge chunk of it is provided by the local government. And the local government's system is finding it a bit difficult to carry on this responsibility. And I know too well that the federal governments have been of a great assistance, partnering with the state government, collaborating with state government through the Universal Basic Education Commission and trickling down to the state Universal Basic Education Board by providing, partnering to make sure that we have good facilities at the basic level. I may want to suggest we can look at the system where maybe we can further collaborate in terms of payment of primary school teachers, because this is the basis of education. If we can get it right at the primary level, at the basic education level, I can assure you things will change dramatically, because so much attention needs to be focused at that level of education, where we expect the NC teachers to go and teach. And where you put somebody to go and teach and maybe salary become an issue. At the end of the month, you don't have your salary, maybe start running into the next month before you can get to pay, because the local government finances are a bit lean. So what do? Do we have to review the local government salary level with respect to accommodating the teachers? Because teachers' interests should be paramount at that level. Like I said, the teaching profession is the mother of our profession. And if it is so, we need to really pay more attention to that level, and especially at the basic level, the primary school level, where we are.
All right, Dr. Mela, we'd like to thank you for your perspective. We're truly pressed for time. As we have indicated, it's a topic that we'll have to return to. The policy you have all applauded is good. That we're looking at the practical challenges of implementation so that the overall objective is met, which is to say boost teachers and teaching and ultimately the education of our children, and of course with a spin-off on our national development. Honorable Commissioner for Education, Bayelsa State, Dr. Gentle Emela, we appreciate you being with us on the program this morning.
Yes, sir.
We also would like to thank Professor Suleiman Bello, who is of the Teaching Service Board in Borno State. He joined us from Maiduguri Borno Network Center. Deep thanks for your thoughts. And from Kaduna, the Commissioner for Education, Dr. Shehu Usman Makarfi, delight having you on Good Morning Nigeria today. And here with us in the Abuja studios, Okechukwu Okora for legal practitioner and head of the legal unit of the NUT head office. Deep thanks for your passion and your contribution.
Thank you.
And not certainly the least, Professor Josiah Jiboye, Registrar and Chief Executive of the Teachers Registration Council of Nigeria. Thanks a lot for the clarification you provided. Of course, we'll still tap on you for subsequent details.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, so that's it for us today and our conversation segment, and indeed for the program. We appreciate your tuning in. Tomorrow is another day, 7 o'clock, same time in the morning. I'm Kingsley Osadolo.
And I'm Yusuf Narabusuman. Thank you so much for watching.
NTA, you can't beat the reach.
NTA Parliament is a dedicated 24-hour channel that broadcasts activities of the Nigerian Senate, Federal House of Representatives, and all the 36 state houses of assembly.